What began as a routine courtroom session took a bizarre and shocking turn when Judge Andrew H. Stones, a figure known for his stern demeanor and sharp wit, openly mocked former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi during a heated legal proceeding. The courtroom was filled with attorneys, reporters, and observers, most of whom were stunned into silence as the judge made sarcastic remarks directed at Bondi's legal strategies. "I didn't know this was amateur hour," he muttered, drawing. Gasps from the gallery. Bondi, representing a high-profile client in a civil dispute, remained composed, but tension was instantly thick in the room. What no one expected was what would happen next, something that would completely unravel the judge's career in a matter of minutes. The clash began when Bondi presented an argument referencing a recent precedent in federal court. Before she could finish, Judge Stones interrupted her with a mocking tone. "Are you quoting that case because it was on your Facebook feed, Ms. Bondi?" he said, smirking. Laughter rippled uncomfortably through the courtroom. Bondi responded calmly, reminding the judge that her references were from official legal texts. But Stones pressed on, belittling her qualifications and even questioning how she managed to win her past elections. "Florida must have been desperate," he joked. The courtroom turned cold. What had started as verbal sparring now bordered on professional misconduct. Lawyers exchanged glances. Reporters began scribbling notes more frantically. Bondi stood her ground, refusing to rise to Stone's provocations. She continued her presentation with poise, addressing the court and not the judge's sarcasm. Yet it was clear the courtroom dynamics had changed. Stones had let personal disdain slip into what should have been a neutral legal environment. Suddenly, from the back of the room, a federal court official entered quietly and walked toward the bench. Whispers spread quickly. The official handed Stones a sealed envelope. The judge's eyes scanned its contents, and within seconds, his face lost all color. Without a word, he stood up from his seat. The room was stunned. The silence broke when two federal marshals entered the courtroom from the side door. One of them approached the bench, informing the judge he was being taken into custody under a sealed indictment. Gasps filled the room as everyone realized what was happening. Judge Andrew H. Stones was being arrested in his own courtroom, in front of the very people he had just mocked. His arrogant posture crumbled. He tried to speak, to assert control, but the marshals didn't hesitate. "You are under arrest for obstruction of justice and abuse of power," one of them stated. Stones looked around, eyes wide, as his world collapsed in real time. The irony of the moment was not lost on anyone. Only minutes before, he was berating Bondi with smug confidence. Now, he was being read his rights. Bondi stood silently, watching the spectacle unfold, her expression unreadable. The courtroom buzzed with whispered disbelief. Reporters reached for their phones. Attorneys stood frozen. The judge, once towering behind the bench, was now being escorted out in handcuffs, his robe flapping awkwardly. The entire scene felt surreal, a dramatic reversal of power unfolding live before a stunned audience. Outside the courthouse, news spread like wildfire. Crowds gathered, trying to catch a glimpse of Stones being escorted to the waiting vehicle. The news vans arrived quickly, live feeds rolling as anchors relayed what had happened. Details about the sealed indictment were still unknown, but speculation ran rampant. Sources later revealed that the charges stemmed from an ongoing investigation into case rigging and coercion. Allegedly, Stones had pressured attorneys to sway verdicts in favor of certain political allies, a direct violation of judicial ethics and federal law. His mocking of Bondi may have just been the straw that broke the camel's back. Legal analysts jumped into the conversation, calling the arrest unprecedented. "It's extremely rare for a sitting judge to be taken into custody during a live court session," one analyst noted. Others pointed to Judge Stone's history of controversial comments and erratic courtroom behavior. suggesting that this moment had been building for years. Bondi, who had previously been criticized by some media outlets, suddenly found herself in a much different light. Her restraint under pressure and refusal to engage in the judge's theatrics earned her newfound respect, even from critics who had doubted her capabilities before. In the hours following the arrest, the Department of Justice released a brief statement confirming the judge's detainment and citing ongoing concerns related to judicial misconduct and potential criminal acts. Though vague, the statement confirmed what many already suspected, that this wasn't about one bad day or an isolated outburst. This was the culmination of months, possibly years, of unethical behavior behind the scenes. Rumors swirled about which cases might be reopened due to Stone's involvement, raising questions about past verdicts and potential miscarriages of justice under his watch. Pam Bondi later issued a short press conference. She refrained from celebrating the arrest, but emphasized the importance of integrity in the courtroom. Justice must be blind, not biased. Today's events remind us that no one is above the law, not even those who wear the robe, she stated. Her comments were widely circulated, with many praising her grace and professionalism. Meanwhile, Judge Stones remained in federal custody, with a bond hearing scheduled within days. He had gone from ruling over cases to becoming one himself, a downfall as dramatic as it was unexpected. The incident quickly became a symbol of accountability in a system often accused of protecting its own. For many, seeing a judge arrested for misconduct reaffirmed the idea that justice can still prevail. For others, it was a sobering reminder of how power can corrupt even those sworn to uphold it. Judge Andrew H. Stone's courtroom humiliation and immediate arrest will likely be studied for years, not just as a legal spectacle, but as a moment of rare transparency in the justice system. And as for Pam Bondi, whether one supports her politics or not, she stood her ground when it mattered most, and history will remember that.